To be honest, tune in. Is this the pod going up? To be honest, sit down, we need to have a talk. Cornelius gon' make a point that the others don't. The mother souls sound the same, come escape the box. Expand your mind, dig into no controversial topics. He ain't scared to keep it real. Tune into this podcast, but don't be in your feelings. We gon' have a laugh, we gon' talk about some pain. Let's talk about the present situation of today. To be honest, is this the podcast? I need to tune in right now.
Woo! Yo, 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 yo! What's up, people? You're now tuned into the realest Christian talk show in the world. And I'm going to stress that because it don't get no realer than this. Trust me. So you know what you need to do? You need to like, you need to comment, you need to subscribe, you need to call a friend, then tell that friend to tell a friend, then tell that friend to tell a friend. Hey, you got to check out this show, especially this one. You got to check out this show because I'm telling you, it's going to change your life. So you're now tuned into the Joshua Diller Show, and I'm so happy to have you. I got a phenomenal guest with me today. And of course, you got to check the drip. I know some of y'all skip past the advertisement on the front of this video, so I'm going to mention it again. The drip is out, people. ShrewdWorld.com. Go cop that. We appreciate all of our sponsors and all of that good stuff. But now, let's get to our guest, man. I'm joined by somebody who is a phenomenal, just authentic, solid guy. He's a father. Ex-pastor, husband, author, speaker. I mean, the list goes on and on. He's built a phenomenal brand with him and his wife. I don't know if he even like to call it a brand. You know, some people are super deep in ministry. This ain't a brand. This is a ministry. And I get it. But this guy is solid. I met him a couple years ago. It's funny because we were having a conversation in the back about me being divorced, and I just breezed through that because I was married at the time when I met him. So anyways, can y'all please give it up for the man, the myth, the fitness guru.
Here we go. Here we go.
Cornelius Lindsay, what's up, baby?
We ain't got started good, bro. That's what we doing. That's what we doing.
Let's go, baby.
I'm honored to be here, Joshua. I really
man.
am.
Thank you for accepting the invitation, my brother. I'm glad to have you here.
I was even given one. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, man. So I met you probably a couple years ago, maybe in 2017 or something like that. You know, my ex at the time, she followed you guys' ministry closely, and I was pretty much introduced to you guys through her, and so we.
It's usually how it works for the fellas.
Yeah, that for real.
Yeah, that's how it always works. Well, my wife was following your wife, and I told my wife, yeah, how it works.
And so we had vacation. It was our anniversary at the time. We were like, hey, let's go to Atlanta. And we were like, okay, let's go to the Lindsay's church. So you guys are pastoring in Atlanta. So we get to your church. I was like, it's cool. The vibe was good. Yeah. All of that was good. And, you know, I met you after the service, and I'm like, hey, this guy Hollywood. Watch. This is what I was thinking in my head. I'll be honest. It's like, watch this guy Hollywood, man. So I went up, you know, because you've been in the church industry. You know the Hollywoodness that goes on. So I meet you after church. We chop it up, and we exchange numbers. And I was like, oh, you gave me his number? It's like, niggas ain't giving out their
Niggas ain't giving out their numbers.
Pastors ain't giving out their number like that. So I was like, oh, okay. That's dope. Because before then, I think I had interviewed you on my podcast.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And so we connected, and you were just solid, man. Just a solid dude, a man of your word.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of weird to say that for a pastor, you are actually a man of your word.
Well, I appreciate that.
Because sometimes that isn't the case.
Well, I appreciate
you know what I'm saying? But you a man of your word. You solid. I'm happy to have you on the show. You know what I'm saying? So for the people who don't really know who Cornelius is, you know, give us a little tidbit. What's your story?
Yeah, man. So, again, I'm honored to be here. I am born in Mississippi, moved to Atlanta, got married. So I've been married for 11 years now. Next year will be 12 years. We have 3 kids. I have an 8-year-old son. We had a 6-year-old daughter, a 3-year-old son named Roman. And I pastored for 2 years. A lot of people don't know this. I pastored for 2 years. After my wife and we got married, we both moved to Jackson, Mississippi. So I pastored for 2 years in Jackson, Mississippi. And then we moved to Atlanta. We opened up the church January 2013 in Atlanta. And so I pastored 8 years in Atlanta. At the top of this year, though, I turned our church over to Pastor Mason Betha. And then my wife and I, and my kids, we all moved to Los Angeles. So we live in Southern California now.
Yeah.
We left the Southern ATL to go to the beautiful Los Angeles. That's where we're at right now.
How is it culturally different in LA versus Atlanta?
Atlanta is Georgia is still considered Bible Belt. So, religious, just kind of in the framework of religion, it's like people know in Atlanta, no matter who you meet, everybody knows something about the Bible, knows something about God. Oh, okay. Somebody can look and say, you blessed, and somebody be like, highly favored. You know what I mean?
Right.
But in LA, it's not like that.
Yeah,
It's more, at least where I'm at, I'm more in the valley. And it's more of, good vibes, positive vibes. I meet people that are like, man, you got positive vibes. I'm like, yeah, that's the Holy Spirit, bro. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
But, that it's more of that. It's more of a spirituality. It's more of an openness. But the people are kind. And I believe that it's just because the weather's always nice.
Yeah,
I feel like I live
phenomenal.
in vacation.
Yeah.
Every day I feel like I wake up in a vacation world. So I'm like, I'm not mad.
Right.
And I can drive to Malibu 20 minutes. I can drive to, Long Beach, and everything is just close proximity. Just drive up to, Big Bear. I can go skiing in an hour and a half. So everything is just there. But everybody's kind. Everybody's nice, and everybody has their own opinion. It's a big melting pot. Like my kids, they go to school with people from all different nationalities, all different cultures, and we love that.
Yeah. What's interesting is that when I saw your post about you guys shutting down the ministry, I think someone sent it to me because I think you guys did a whole episode, a show, or something like that on it. Maybe you did. I know you put out something with Mace, which I gotta get back to that. That was completely unexpected. But I was like, oh wow, they just moved to LA because God told them to.
Yep.
So how does that work, man?
God just put it on our hearts. He had already put it on my heart in December 2019. So every year we took our family to Maui. We took our kids and we stay out there. But the goal was, since the flight was so long from Maui to Atlanta, we would stop in LA. So we stopped in LA, and just this time we stopped to stay in LA for 5 days before we flew back to Atlanta. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to leave. So my wife wakes up. It's 2:00 in the morning. I'm online looking up houses in LA. My wife is like, babe, we got to go back home. Like, at that time, our church was running 3 services. We're doing really well. She's like, babe, we got to go back home. And I'm like, I don't want to go back home. I want to live here. But anyway, fast forward to this year, my wife and I, we're just there. And she was like, she said, I really feel like God's calling us to Los Angeles. And I had felt that way too. I just kind of lost, sight of where I was. And I said, okay, it's time for us to go. So we took a flight out to Los Angeles. We rented a car and we just drove wherever God kind of led us, and He led us to a certain part. And then we started looking at houses, and we ended up getting into a 10-way bidding war with somebody else. But we ended up getting the house, and we're like, okay, God, you're opening up every door we need and making it happen. So we just did it. So in the span of 3 weeks, we had packed up our house. My wife hosted her Pinky Promise conference, and that weekend of doing the Pinky Promise conference, that Monday, the day after the conference, that's when we boarded flights for Los Angeles with a one-way ticket, and we flew our entire family to California.
Wow.
Our stuff went over on U-Haul pods. We had our cars shipped over. So yeah, it was a big move,
man.
But we just did it. We
Somebody
don't think
watching-
about it; you just do it.
Somebody watching this having an anxiety attack right now, bro.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking like, okay, you definitely need a ride or die wife who trusts you and is on the same page with you.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, listen, because you guys put in roots
In Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems like this just kind of came up out of nowhere.
Right.
And y'all moved. Is that the case, or?
Well, we thought about it. Like I say, it was always in my heart from 2019. I always felt a call there, but it just didn't make sense. You know how you feel like I feel like I'm supposed to be there, but it didn't make sense because God, I have all of this here. why would I need to go there? Everything I need is right here, but I feel like you're calling me there. And but when my wife felt it, and we were both on the same page, we both had peace about it, then it was like, let's just do it. And I think that it was easy for us because in the past we have done so many things that took big faith that this move was relatively easy. I mean, my wife and I, we planned a whole conference in 2017. We planned a whole conference in Lagos, Nigeria, Nairobi, Kenya, Cape Town, South Africa, and London, England. We did it in the span of 4 weeks from each other, and all of them were free except London. So we had thousands of people in Nigeria, thousands of people in Kenya, and we were bringing people over, to work sound and all this kind of stuff. But we've done so many things that took big faith that I think moving to LA, it was like,
right,
ain't that big of a deal.
Yeah. What was the hardest thing that you guys did that took big faith?
You have me to really think. Hardest thing we did that took big faith was probably in the beginning when we moved to Mississippi, then we moved back to Georgia. Because in the beginning, my wife and I, we were newly married. When we moved to Mississippi, we got married in August. We moved to Mississippi in December. So that took a lot, and that took a lot from my wife as well. Kudos to her because she was willing to follow my leadership. When I said I believe this is where God's sending us, and then she was willing to go and be there, even though my wife is a northern girl. She wasn't raised in the South. So then it was already something. I took her to Atlanta, but then to put her in Mississippi, that's So I think that was probably the biggest level of faith because we had a new marriage and now we're in a new place with nobody that we really know. That was relatively difficult.
Yeah. And I'm guessing that laid the foundation for these faith moves that happened after.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I would tell my wife. I remember there was one time when we were living in Mississippi. God was leading us back to Atlanta. My wife was working from home at that time. I was full-time ministry. I was full-time entrepreneur, but my wife was still working from home, and she was just saying, she was like, I'm tired. I really want to leave my 9 to 5. And I remember going in prayer. I was like, hey, let's pray about it. I went into prayer and I came back and I felt the Holy Spirit tell me to tell her, listen, you won't be there. You'll be there for another 6 months and that's it. And 6 months to the day, her HR rep called her and said, listen, in order for you to keep your job, you got to move back to New York City. My wife said, I'm not moving back. So 6 months to the day, she lost her contract. And since then we've been full-time entrepreneurs since then. And
really,
oh yeah. So we've been living well. Since I left my last 9 to 5 job in 2010. Yeah, my last 9 to 5 job in 2010. So
where were you working then?
I was working for a church.
Oh, okay.
I was working for a church.
Yeah,
I was working for. I actually worked for Dr. Creflo Dollar.
Oh, really?
I worked for him for almost 4 years.
How was that experience?
It was an experience.
It was where you met Mace?
You know what? That is where I met Mace.
Really?
That's where I met Mace.
Okay.
And then we reconnected. We reconnected sometime last year, and then that's when the conversation started happening about, we didn't even sit down to talk about, anybody taking over the church and me leaving the church. Our conversation in the beginning was just about, hey, this is what's on my heart. That's what's on his heart. And then just subsequent conversations from that just kind of led to a whole transition that just made sense. And even looking now, it's something that, I still believe in. Pastor Mace is a very, very sound individual. I think that, some people can probably get lost in his creativity, but the way that he handles the word, and I think the grace that he gives towards it is something that is worth to be treasured. And I'm a graceful guy. I love the guy. I think that he's great for the role. So.
Pastor Mace.
Yep.
Pastor Mace.
Well, he pastored for 7 years in Atlanta.
Where? At Creflo Dollar Church?
No. He had a church called, what is it? was it El Elyon? I forget the name of the church, but he pastored for 7 years in Atlanta, not too far in Buckhead.
Okay.
And I mean, his church did well.
I didn't know that.
He pastored for almost 7 years in Atlanta.
The last thing I knew about Mace is he came back to rapping.
He did. He went back to rapping.
Welcome Back. I love that track, by the way.
Right.
Welcome Back, and then he went back to rapping, and then it got quiet.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what happened to him. I just figured he was still rapping.
Yeah.
You know?
He had to work on some stuff between him, his family, stuff like that. But he during that time period, he was really getting himself together. And I think one of the toughest things, especially for religious folk, is they look at a guy like him, and when you see somebody in the public eye, you don't give them the latitude to also go on a journey. Because you put them in a box and you make your assumption that you got to stay in my box and you can't have the same type of journey I have.
Right.
And he had a journey.
Yeah.
And he took a journey, and his journey has kind of led him to where he is right now. And I mean, as somebody who, has sat with him, I stand with him 100%.
Yeah, I was blown away when I watched that video. I said, stop it. Mace is not about to pastor.
He is.
I was like, yo, that's cool. And I thought to myself, this almost seems like a mastermind type move, a boss move, like on a chessboard. I'm like, yo, so okay, you guys are moving to LA because God told you,
right.
And then Mace is about to pastor your church.
Right.
Unbeknownst to me though, I didn't know he was pastoring in Buckhead.
Yeah, he had pastored. The crazy thing is, and a lot of people don't know this, he pastored for 7 years, and then he left. When he closed down his church, in 2013. I opened our church in 2013.
Really?
And so around the time that we started talking, it was, 7 years into me pastoring the church. And that's when I started sharing with him that, I don't feel called to Atlanta. I feel like God is leading us somewhere else. And he was saying, I feel called to Atlanta. I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where my family's supposed to be. And he said, I'm ready to jump back into it. And that's when I was like, well, hold on. You pastored for 7 years. When you ended your church, that's when I started mine. And I just felt by the Spirit of God, it was almost like, this is what I told Pastor Mace. I've never told anybody else this, but I told Pastor Mace, I said, even if the only reason was for God wanted me to open up the church in Atlanta, if the only reason was for me to open it up so that I can sustain something until he was ready, then I'd be fine with that. Because when he came back, he was 7 years in, and I was 7 years out, and it seemed like a great match, and we got some elders, some wisdom on it, and we sat down with people as we talked out the transition, and we just moved forward with it.
Transitions get complicated.
They really do.
Yeah, I know some popular pastors, you know what I'm saying, who went through some tough transitions, and so. How are things going with the church back in Atlanta now?
Well, here's the thing. When I walked away from it, I walked away from every single thing. Okay. I didn't take a dime. I didn't do any. It's like none of that. It was this is going to be yours. So I don't keep tabs on it. I don't run up behind him. What are you doing with this? How you doing with that? Because in my head, if I'm truly leaving to go where God's sending me, then I can't cling to where I was.
Right.
So I fully let that go. That's between him and God now. Because where I'm going, I got to focus on what God has for me. So that's between him and God. What he's doing, I honestly I don't know.
You're full of fortune cookie quotes, man. Like it just comes out of you, bro.
I think a lot of hard knocks, man.
Yeah. So you and your wife, you guys are a very attractive couple, by the way.
I appreciate that.
How did you meet your wife?
So I was working for Dr. Creflo Dollar. He had two churches, one in Atlanta, one in New York City. And my wife went to the church in New York City. And so I would fly back and forth with him every Saturday. So I met her at the church in New York City. We exchanged conversation over Facebook Messenger one day. It was during the fast. And she asked, could we have honey and almond milk on the Daniel's fast? And I was like,
she was shooting her shot the Christian way.
That's the way I felt like she was.
She was shooting her shot the Christian. It was the Christian shooter shot.
I've always said that, but don't nobody want to agree with me because she was just saying, well, you're his assistant, so you would know because nobody else knew in the church in New York. And So she asked me that, and I told her, I was like, yeah, I believe so. You know, honey, plants, bees. And then I told her, I said, I hit her back, and I said, you know, I'm planting a pig. I'm planting a pig, a cow, and a chicken in the ground so I can raise it up and use it as a seed needed from the ground. So we just kept talking. And then from there, I flew up that Wednesday. I took her, we went on our first date. And a year and 8 months later, we got married.
When did you know that she was the one?
15 minutes to the conversation over Facebook Messenger. I just felt it.
Really?
I knew it. Oh, I knew it. I knew without a doubt.
So she reaches out to you about the fast, and then 15 minutes later,
in the conversation,
in that conversation, you knew she was the one.
Absolutely, I was ready to meet her. Yeah, I knew it. And the crazy thing was, I had just ended a relationship with this girl who I had been dating for a while. And I just ended the relationship. I remember telling God, like, you know what? I'm done. I'm gonna focus on you. And then that focus on him, it turned into, dang, like 2 months later, here comes Heather.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I just knew it.
Yeah. That's wild, man.
Yeah, I just
you know,
knew it.
I have a similar story. Mine didn't turn out like yours, unfortunately.
Well, I just learned that in the back. So I mean,
Mine
if
didn't turn
you
out
trying
like
to tell the
yours.
story, bro.
So when I met my ex,
Golly. Oh,
that didn't come out right.
it did. Yeah,
Sound like a little shade
Drank a little
there,
water.
but I promise you there was no shade.
I don't know, man. I think you're growing a couple palm trees over there.
So when we served at the same church,
Okay.
similar ministry, both serving in leadership, had a group of friends. I was in a relationship at the time, and then that relationship ended, and we were still in each other's vicinity. And I was at Denny's one day, and I was like, man, I thought about her, and I had this feeling, you know what I'm saying? Feel like the Holy Spirit came over me and was like, this is your wife. And so I hit her up on text, and I was like, yo, I got something to tell you. You know, I'm gonna tell you later. And she was like, okay, because we all have information, because we all in leadership. The church we were serving at was going through a tough transition because the pastor had just left. We kind of stayed on leadership to try to help during the transition and stuff like that. And so we all had each other's information. So I hit her, I was like, yo, I got something to tell you. And later on that evening, I was like, God told me you were my wife. And she hit me back, and she was like, you know what, that's crazy you say that, because God told me the same thing a year and a half ago. And everybody like, ooh, oh man, that's crazy, that's God. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it wasn't, but there's a lot of backstory to that as well, from as a man who is, you know, growing and maturing emotionally.
Yeah.
Like, I had just got out of a relationship probably like 2 weeks ago. You know, no, I know the judgment is in your eyes.
No, I was trying to do the math in my head.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
That's what that was.
Yeah, it was math. I'm bad at math, so it take me a little bit. Take me some time. I got to think about numbers.
So like a week and a half later, you know, it was like, yo, God told me you was my wife. Hey, God told me the same thing a year and a half ago, and we went with that, and we got married 6 months later. Now, the more emotionally mature Josh would probably have said, hey, you probably need to take some time, because my ex at the time, she started like slandering me, like bad mouthing me. And so I was losing friends left and right. You lose a friend. You lose a friend. I'm
She was
like,
Oprah
yo, I'm losing so many friends. I didn't realize, like, I was clinging on. I was like, yo, I thought we were, but I guess not. I thought we were, but I guess not, you know, and I kind of felt alone. And so that friendship that we had, I leaned into it, because I felt like at the time that was all I had.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then I felt like at the time God told me that. Now we're divorced. So I don't know if it was or it wasn't.
Right.
How do you feel about someone who feel like God told them something, but then it changes or it doesn't play out exactly how they may have thought that it would?
Yeah. Honest answer.
Yeah.
God can say it, but it takes man's responsibility to sustain it. God can tell two people, I want you two to be married. But the only way two people can be married is not because God wants them to be married. It's because both of them desire to be married. And so, for the people who are like, well, I believe God told me that, I don't doubt that he told you. But what comes into play is man's free will. Like God can tell me, like God could have told me, he could tell me and my wife, I want y'all to go to LA. And then we could still be living in Atlanta right now in complete disobedience. Not because he didn't say it, but because our free will, we just chose not to do it. So I go back to the point, God can command it, but I believe that it takes man to sustain it. I'm going to do it and I'm going to keep it going.
What do you feel? What do you think about the scripture that says, what God puts together, let no man put it? Because that's kind of used in the Christian world. Like, hey, if God put it together, you know what I'm saying? Then nothing can tear it apart, essentially, because God put that together.
I believe the verse essentially. But think about it theoretically. God put it together, and then it says, let no man tear it apart. That ending part, let no man tear it apart, means it signifies that man can have the power to come to tear it apart. And that's where that free will comes in. That's where he said, hey, here's the warning. God put it together. Don't let anybody come and tear it apart. But then man says, well, I want to tear it apart. Shh, and it just rips.
Yeah. That's real. How did you propose to your wife? What was that like?
The W Hotel in Buckhead. I had told her, it was on Christmas Day. I told her, I said I'd never had a Christmas party that had both my family and my friends. So she was like, okay, I'm gonna plan it for you. But she didn't realize that my friends were in on it. So my friends were like, oh, you're going to do it? You should do it at the W. I know the manager W, blah, blah, blah. So we had this elaborate plan. She thought she had this elaborate plan to surprise me at the W Hotel with this party with all of my friends and my family. So she was basically calling everybody there. And so we showed up, and she walked inside, and she was like, surprise. I walked in last. She's like, surprise. And I'm like, what is this? What the heck is this? And that's when she was like, I know you don't like surprises, but I wanted to do this for you. And then my mom or somebody was like, Heather, come here. So she was walking towards them, and as she turned her back, I got on one knee.
Really?
And then when she turned back around, she was like, you got me.
Oh man, that was play. Give me some. It
was pretty dope. It was really dope. I didn't know how I was gonna get her. I was like, because she's into everything. She knows everything. So I was like, in order for me to get her, she's going to have to think that she's the one who's doing it. So that's what she thought she was playing at the party.
You guys are definitely like, I think a lot of couples look to you guys and are inspired. And you probably are, a lot of couples like relationship goals.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know why. Here's the crazy thing. We always talk about our difficulties, and on purpose we try to talk about our difficulties a lot more than we try to talk about our successes. Because nowadays, because of social media and everything, we live in a posing culture where everybody wants to pose. Everybody wants to play a part. Everybody wants to portray this role. Like, oh, my marriage is so great. I know a ton of marriages that look great online, but behind the scenes, he's getting ready to file for divorce.
Right.
So we try our best to talk about our disagreements. Like my wife and I, we are night and day. My wife is a vegan. Born in Michigan, lived in New York. I'm a meat eater that was born in Mississippi, grew up in Atlanta, but now we just both in LA, So even like how her parenting, she was adopted growing up. She was raised, she's black and white, she's mixed. But she was raised by a white family in Michigan. I was raised by a black family in the South. So even like parenting and all those things, we just see the opposite on everything. But then to bring those dynamics together, it can be bad if we allow for it to be, because she has a very strong personality. She has to for what she does. I have an extremely strong personality.
Right.
So, but we've had to learn how to integrate, so to speak.
So you said she was adopted by white parents?
Yep.
You know what's crazy? So I had a friend on the show. His name's Nate. He's a professional athlete, and he was telling me about his upbringing. I shared with him. I was like, "Yo, something that used to kind of get under my skin. I've moved past it. But something that used to get under my skin is white parents that adopt black kids. Mm-hmm. You know, because it's like I used to be like, man, this whole savior complex, like." You ain't find no white kids. You can go out there and adopt, man. You got to go out there. But I met this white couple that had adopted this their black son, mm-hmm. and I just saw how they treated him, and I was like, "Yo, I suck." You know what I'm saying? I've had this view my entire life because I'm like, "Yo, stop doing that."
Yeah,
like I used to cringe at the pictures. I'm gonna be honest, like, why?
Yeah,
you know. But once I met someone and I was in proximity with someone and actually got to know them, it completely changed my worldview. So I feel like that's a really dope story. I'm interested to hear that story from your wife because I just wonder she's biracial, right?
She's biracial.
Then being adopted.
Yeah.
I'm just like, whoa.
Well, and the other thing is that my wife's mom adopted all the kids nobody else wanted. So they thought my wife had cerebral palsy. So my wife was adopted by a family, but then they gave her back up because they thought she had cerebral palsy. So her mom adopted her because nobody else wanted her. So and all of my wife's brothers and sisters, well, my wife, she has 23 brothers and sisters, and out of the 23 of them, only one of them is from her mom. And but you know, I look at you know my in-loves, I call them, and some of them are crack babies, some of them are bound to wheelchairs, you know, some of them are mentally handicapped. So she grew up in a household full of the people who society threw away. So her mom didn't even look at her skin color. Her mom was just like, I'll take her because nobody else wants her.
Wow.
So every kid was like, I'll take, don't nobody else want him, I'll take him. Like one of my in-loves, she was thrown in a trash can. She was found in a trash can when she was a baby. Mm-hmm. And then she was adopted into a family, and unfortunately the father preferred her, mm-hmm. and the mom got upset, put her back into foster care, and my mom went and adopted her. You know, so it was just all the kids nobody else wanted. My mom in love, she adopted them.
Wow.
Yeah, very special woman.
Powerful story.
Very special woman.
Because I'm not the adopter type.
We want to adopt a kid now.
Y'all want to adopt a kid?
And so I wanted to adopt before I got married. Before I met Heather, I was getting ready to adopt because I always wanted to be a father.
Okay.
Always wanted to be a father.
Why you just do it the natural way, man? Go out here and don't mess it with
I mean, you know, you probably have a couple scares every now and then. Thank God that didn't happen.
Right.
Thank God that didn't happen. But nevertheless, you know, I wanted to adopt. But then I met Heather, and she told me her story, and she mentioned that she wanted to adopt one day. So, you know, I agreed. I was like, well, let's just wait. If we get married, let's just wait. We'll do it together. So now, you know, we're 3 kids in, and we feel like, you know, our house is big enough, and God's blessed us enough to be able to bring in the ideal picture with us to bring in one more kid. We'll adopt one more kid, and now I got to that stage where I want a dog.
Really?
I want a dog.
What type of dog?
I want a
little dog or a big dog?
No, I want one of them dogs that President Obama had.
Oh, okay.
Them little hypoallergenic dogs.
Yeah.
Because I don't be sneezing around the house. I don't want you to shed.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really want you to bark or nothing. I just want you to just be my friend every night. I don't know, because as I get older, I just, you know, I like my own space.
Yeah.
And sometimes just, you know, I got my kids. I play with them. Sometimes, like, I just want to sit outside and just have my dogs in beside me. You know, don't move.
You like a giant schnauzer type of guy. I can see you with the giant schnauzer.
I don't even know what that is.
You don't know what that is?
I don't know what that is. Somebody sent me a type of dog. I forget what it was, but it was like a mix between a golden retriever and something else. It was a golden beamer, golden poodle or something. I don't know, whatever it was. I think it was a golden poodle, golden retriever and a poodle.
That probably came out looking fly though.
The dog looked dope. And I was like, I want one of those. It was hyperallergenic and it had like the smartness of the golden retriever and something else of the poodle. And I was like, I can dig this.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty decent mix right there.
Oh, it was a beautiful dog, but I was like, you know what? A golden doodle, I think that's what it's called. Golden doodle.
Yeah.
But, we're gonna get out in Cali and explore some more, enjoy it, let our kids enjoy it. Then when we get fully planted, then we'll start adding on other things, the church and the kids and the.
I'm not a dog guy. I'm ashamed to tell you this story. I haven't shared this story with anybody. You get the exclusive.
What is it?
When I was married.
Godly. the way the head shaking going on in the room. Godly. Golly.
Oh, I'm stupid.
Golly.
So I got her a dog.
Uh-oh.
For her. Now keep in mind, we didn't have inside dogs growing up. We had outside dogs.
I did too.
Dogs stay in the backyard. They don't come in the house.
That's right. They eat the scraps from the table.
Right. So that's low maintenance.
Yeah.
That's low maintenance. Inside dog, you got to train them. You got to take them out. It's like a kid.
Yeah.
It's like a kid. And so I was new to this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we were staying in an apartment at the time. There's no such thing as a back. We didn't have a backyard. So I got this dog, and she was like, I want a dog. And I was like, okay, cool. I had no idea that I don't have the temperament for a dog. My dad, super strict guy. Like my dad, no nonsense. And I get that from him. So I'm like, no nonsense. And I don't have a temperament. I've never had to train a dog.
Yeah.
I'm angry at the dog for pissing in the house. I'm like, why are you doing this? I'm chasing the dog under the bed. Dog was terrified of me. We had to get a dog up. Ever since then, I tried to do it again.
Yeah.
I was like, and I was dog sitting. And I dog sit for like 2 weeks. And I was like, I'm just not a dog person. I gotta go out, be like, I gotta go back home and take the dog out. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't have a backyard and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it's pretty. I've accepted. That's not my calling. That's not
and
it.
I wasn't a dog person either. I just think, my life has changed a lot. I think, like we were talking about in the back, I've deconstructed in a lot of areas and reconstructed in some areas. I've changed how I live my life and also changed the view of myself. And I think in that growth, really honing more into soul care and on my own mental health and my own emotional quotient, I've gotten to this place where things that I thought I never wanted, I actually have a desire for now.
What are some of those things that you thought you never wanted?
Well, I mean, the dog is one of them. I never thought that I wanted a dog. Early this year, I never thought that I ever wanted to pastor again, or at least be a part of traditional church again.
What happened there? What happened there? Like, why don't you think you never wanted to pastor again?
I was burnt out. I was burnt out. I listened to what all the elders that I was around kind of told me, and that was, take care of God's house. Just keep going. And I was around pastors who they didn't stop. They didn't really take vacations. If they did, it was for a week, and it was from Monday to Friday. They were back at church preaching on Sunday morning.
Okay.
So the church was the ace boom coon. The church was the focal point of their life. And so I looked over my life in 8 years of pastoring in Atlanta. When I went on vacation, it was during the week, and I was right back preaching on Sunday. When for all three of my kids, we would be in the hospital on Wednesday. My wife would have the baby on a Wednesday or a Tuesday or something like that. And typically we were at home on Saturday, and I was back at church on Sunday morning. And I was exhausted. I was tired. And I didn't know what burnout looked like. And I was emotionally exhausted. I was extremely depressed. I got to the point where I was extremely suicidal.
Really? As a pastor?
Yeah, very much so.
Wow.
Very much so. I was very, very suicidal. I didn't feel like I had anybody to talk to, because you can't really talk to your congregants. It's almost like, with David, like I feel like if Jonathan was still alive, and I'm talking about the story of David and Jonathan for those who are listening, but if Jonathan was still alive, I don't believe that David would have slept with Bathsheba. Because he would have had somebody to hold him accountable. And if you notice that when God sent someone to confront David, he didn't use one of David's infantrymen. He didn't use one of David's soldiers.
Right.
He used a prophet because a king can look a prophet in the eye. So it was difficult because, you know, during that time, I didn't really have anybody I could really talk to. And then that was difficult. Because, you know, you've been in the pastoral world, you've been in the church world. It can be very, very fake.
Yeah.
You know, and even though I had a lot of, I guess you would say, quote unquote, brothers, it wasn't difficult to see that most people wanted to be around you, not because of who you were, but because of what you had.
Yeah.
And being around you could help to elevate them.
Absolutely.
But as soon as they don't feel as though you have it anymore, or you're no longer a need to what they're building,
you're disposable.
Then they dispose of you. So it wasn't difficult for me to see that. So I don't like to play the game. I've never been somebody to be part of a cool club. I don't care about being a popular preacher, or, you know, or being in little groups with them or groups with, you know, that was never my thing. I don't need to be in it to something to belong. So that was hard. But yeah, I was depressed. I was suicidal. I was hurting. I was in therapy. I saw a psychologist. They tried to put me on medication.
Really?
Yep. She recommended medication for me. I opted not to take the medication because the side effects that she gave me made it worse than the depression and anxiety that I had. I was like, well, heck, I'm gonna feel worse. I don't know if I want to take this. She's like, yeah, your mood, you're gonna be very melancholy all day.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, I don't want that.
Wow.
You know? But yeah, I talked to a psychologist. It was or psychiatrist. It was very, very difficult for a while. I would say the last 3.5 years of pastoring were very difficult.
Did you ever have a moment where you were just going to walk away from it all? Like just literally walk away?
Absolutely. That was one Sunday. I believe we had 2 services or 3 services, but anyway, after the first service, I asked the associate pastor, I said, hey, could you get all the senior staff together and just get them all up in the sanctuary, put them all in the seat? So he did after the service, and he was standing there. He didn't know this either. And I was standing there in front of them. I said, hey guys, just wanted to let you know that today is my last Sunday. This is no exaggeration. This is my last Sunday. And I'm turning the church over to him. And I never forget one of the ladies, she was in there. She said, nope. She said, no, big dog. No, this ain't what we doing. Right. She said, no, big dog. Right. It was the funniest thing. And I was trying to fix it. I was like, you know what? Well, I'm not leaving. Right. I'm not stepping down. I'm really stepping up. So I'm becoming more of the apostle of the church. I'm having more apostle oversight, and he's gonna be like, you know, running the day to day. And they were like, Right. But in my head, I thought, this is my last Sunday. I'm done.
Yeah.
And then from there, I just remember just trying my best to give it to somebody who would take it. I was done.
Yeah.
I was done mentally. I was done emotionally. I had more questions at that time than I had answers. And then I was hurt because you give your life to people, you know?
Yeah.
My wife and I, man, we paid off student loans. We bought cars. We've helped people get in houses. We've helped people get in apartments. We've helped people get their cars, you know, out of repossession. Not what the church has done, what we've done.
Right.
We always open up our house. People ate at our kitchen table. I cooked for them.
Yeah.
And then it never fails. It seems like the people who you fed are the ones who one day want you to starve.
Yeah. It's wild how that happens.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
So I was hurting it, and I didn't know how to process all of it.
Yeah.
So I was ready to just, you know, I was like, you know what, God, if this is what this is, you can have this. Like Jesus already died on the cross for these Negroes. I don't have to do it. Jesus already did it. Right. I don't know what to tell you. Right, I ain't dying for them.
Right.
So yeah, it was hard.
Yeah. I'm sure it was, man, and you're right. I remember growing up in the home, my parents would have people come stay with us, you know, who were in need. They just, doors open. You know, it is so funny because as a pastor's kid, I always said to myself, I would never It's not gonna happen.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm not taking anybody in my home because of the trauma from my parents letting everybody come stay with us, and we lose our room.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, I done caught people having sex in my room as a kid. I'm like, yo,
can I go in there and get my toys?
I'm just trying to go to the closet to get some clothes for school, man.
Y'all gotta do this on my sheets.
right. Looking at my bed like, man, I don't know if I ever want to sleep there again.
Walking around to my house, it's stanky here.
Talking about what's that?
Y'all cooking fish in this? Oh, let me stop. All right. Bro. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And I remember, man, times where the same people that they would bring in, welcome with open arms, would cuss them out in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
6 months later, like, you've never done anything for them.
Yeah.
And it's the most, I almost don't know how to describe it. It's the most odd thing to see.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like the thing, don't slap the hand that fed you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that seems to be a recurring thing as a pastor kid that I saw growing up.
Right.
I constantly saw you get prayed for. You know, get called in the middle of the night. You're on the phone for 3 hours. Like, we don't get time with him because you got it.
Yeah.
You got all the time. You know, and maybe my dad wasn't the best at balancing, you know, that time with his family versus church and stuff like that. So I completely understand. So how did you come out of that place where, okay, you're dealing with depression? How did you eventually start coming up for air, so to say?
Well, stepping away from the church was an important step because there was no way that I could lift up to breathe while still carrying the weight of what I felt like the world.
Yeah.
Because I was watching everybody else's soul. But the question that I kept having was, who's watching mine? Because people are like, well, you got to have a pastor. Well, that was the thing. It's like, it's difficult nowadays to even have a pastor, to have somebody who really cares for you.
Right.
And then in my situation, or in our situation, it was very difficult for my wife and I, when we met pastors, to know if they cared for us, if they wanted us, or if they wanted the influence that they thought we had, or if they wanted they wanted to be, so, you know, to say that I'm their pastor.
Right.
So that part was very difficult. So kind of getting away from that, it let me kind of go up for air a little bit. And then I just started reshuffling my life. I started studying more on soul care. There's a wonderful organization called Refuge Foundation. Well, we go out in the woods in Montana, Wyoming. There's also another organization that does something in South Carolina, but I started going to those. And I go fly fishing in the middle of nowhere, Montana, an hour and a half away from the airport. Yeah. Go fly fishing, go shoot and kill prairie dogs, you know, eat bison burgers on a Monday night, sit around the fire, you know, have a drink or two or whatever, and just enjoy life. And that started to allow, it gave me the latitude, it gave me the space to start seeking answers to the many questions I had. Yeah. And then from there, it's just, everything just kind of lightened up. I started studying soul care, read a lot of books. One book that I recommend to everybody is I read a book called Ragamuffin Gospel. Amazing, amazing book. That really started to change. It really started to change the trajectory of my life. So
what is soul care? Because honestly, you're the first person that I've heard mention this term. I'm not too familiar with it. I gather what it could mean, right? But what does that mean, and why is that important to you now?
Yeah, so soul care, you're looking at the care of the whole soul. The way that we live our world now is fragmented. You know, we go to church to get God. We go to church to get God. You go to the bank for your finances. You go to school for education. You go to all these different things. So in order for you to find balance, you have to somehow balance all these different areas. Soul care is the idea that I'm bringing all these things in for the fulfillment of my soul. So no longer do I have to assume that in order for me to get God, I have to go to church. But I change my perspective on it. Instead of me saying I got to go to church to get God, is that I have God, which is why I want to go to church. Yeah. You know? It is more of, okay, let me deal with the issues of my heart so I can know how to best, work my finances. But it takes in the fullness of the soul. It deals with the trauma of the past. A lot of adults right now, we do things and we just say, well, that's just the way that I am. It's not the way that you are. It's the way that you were taught. It's the way that your environment reared you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you never took time as an adult to reach back at that child you were and say, you know what? I need to make a change because this is how I grew up. I grew up with no affection.
Right.
And now I think, oh, I just don't. I'm not affectionate.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you are affectionate.
Right.
It's just that probably the affection that you got was the wrong type of affection. So you taught yourself never to need something that you need.
Yeah.
You need physical touch.
Right.
You need affection.
Right.
But you're like, I don't need all that.
Right,
you
right,
do.
right.
You just hurt.
Right.
And you don't recognize it. So
Yeah.
soul care deals with the trauma of all those different things. Soul care deals with it even deals with those present emotions and those present feelings that you have, so that you can find a sense of solace, you can find a sense of calmness, you can answer those questions, Like, I meditate now. I love it. Because before, I grew up in church where it was like, you meditate? That's new age stuff. You better stop all that meditation. And I was like, but Negro, Joshua chapter 1 verse 8,
Right,
he meditated the word both day and night. I was like, hold up, he can't meditate?
Yeah.
Or I would say, okay, I remember I said this, I was sitting in a room full of pastors, and I was like, okay, guys, I say, well, we're going to finish up. I'm going to go to yoga. Yoga?
Oh,
Yoga?
not yoga.
You doing yoga? Oh, no, brother. That's Buddhist. That's Buddhism. I said, okay, I'm going to go stretch. Like, which way you want me to say it? I ain't got a chant.
Right.
About some I tell people I don't have to say namaste.
Right.
My thing is namaste with Jesus. Namaste with Jesus. That's I don't have to chant with everybody else.
Yeah.
But it's just I'm gonna go stretch.
Yeah.
I'm gonna breathe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna think. I meditate. Philippians tells us to think on those things which are true, lovely, and of good report. Think on those things. That's meditation.
Yeah.
I envision, like, now the world is enthralled with this idea of manifestation. You got to manifest your future,
Right.
manifest your dream. That's the undertone of that is biblical.
Right.
Like, God was a God of vision. That's why he gives us the ability to have vision.
Yeah.
And so I had all these questions, but the silence and the calmness of my life allow for me to find the answers outside of religion. And now that I go back to it, I'm like, man, this is what this means. And one of the biggest things that hit me, I never realized it until last year, was that I dealt with self-hatred. I hated myself.
Really?
I hated myself.
Hate is a strong word.
It's a very strong word, and it's probably one of the most accurate ones I can use to describe how I felt.
How do you hate yourself? Why did you hate yourself?
As a child, I was bullied growing up. I was a short, fat kid. So
Really?
I was a short, fat kid. So I was called everything from Butterball. I wore a red shirt to school one day. They called me Kool-Aid Man, Tuda, Titty Boy, all that kind of stuff. So I was bullied as a child.
Yeah.
And then you kind of, other childhood traumas and stuff like that, they kind of built into this thing where I hated, if I look back over my life, if you were to say, hey, show me a picture of you when you were 11, I couldn't. Because I hated taking pictures.
Oh, wow.
And I hated to look in the mirror.
Okay.
And I didn't know that I hated myself. But the way that I would compensate is through achievement. So I've always been an achiever.
Oh, okay.
I'm an orator. I know how to do it, so I know how to achieve. I can achieve well. But the problem is I would achieve and then I would go back and I would hate myself. I would have the first place trophy and I got all the applause, and then I go back in my room and I'm writing in my journal how much I hate myself.
Wow.
And there I was preaching on a stage all over the world, sometimes thousands of people. And I'm preaching about the love of God. And bro,
Hate yourself.
I didn't even believe it.
Wow.
I didn't believe he loved me.
Yeah.
Because again, as an achiever, in my head, it wasn't in my head as an achiever, it was about, okay, yes, God, I know that you love them, but I don't think I've achieved enough for you to love me.
Man, I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was all merit-based. And then as soon as I messed up, which was bound to happen.
Right,
As soon as I messed
absolutely.
up, I know you don't love me now.
Yeah.
So now I need to work harder. That's why I got a flat tire. I didn't tithe. That's why that happened. I didn't wake up in the morning, have my hour of power in prayer.
Right.
And I was trying to work for God's love.
Mm-hmm.
And I grabbed hold of that message of self-love, and it has revolutionized my life and has changed it forever. And I'm proud of that.
Man, it makes me think about this scripture that my dad used to tell us all the time, and it put me in a performance mode.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had to work for God's love,
right,
for his approval. And that scripture is like, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yo, I'm trying to prove to God how much I love him.
Right.
That's why I'm doing all of this. God, you see me? You see me?
Right.
See what I did? You know, but when you fall, living like that, you fall hard.
You fall really hard.
Hard on yourself because you don't really believe that God loves you.
Right.
You believe that God accepts you because of the things you do.
Right.
That's what I believe. Like, I do this, I do that, and I do that. Therefore, I have earned this. Absolutely. And it kind of puts you in this place of entitlement.
Very much so.
Mm-hmm.
But you had to think, the present day church culture does not teach us how to become.
Mm-hmm.
It teaches us how to perform.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about performing.
Yeah.
Blessed and highly favored, Lord. How you doing today? I'm blessed and highly favored, walking in the presence of God. We learn how to perform. We learn Christian sayings. We get into Christian colloquialisms. We learn how to carry the part. We learn how to be in the choir. We learn how to sing the songs. We learn how to do all these things. We learn how to be who we need to be. As soon as we walk in the doors, then we'll cuss you out in the parking lot.
Right.
That's just who we are. And then we get in the parking lot and we act like we never went inside. But then we can't act like, I can't walk in the sanctuary and say damn. But then I just said damn out in the parking lot.
Right.
I said, it's like.
Right,
It's like,
right.
what's the correlation here?
Right,
Because
right.
now who am I fooling?
Right.
Not God.
Right.
Obviously, I'm fooling myself.
Right.
So in present church culture teaches us how to perform.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't teach us how to become.
Yeah.
God doesn't want us to be performers. Mm-hmm. He didn't call us to be performers. He called us to be followers. He called us to become. Mm-hmm. And that was the work in Genesis. When God told Adam, he put him in the garden to work. That work was not even this hard, laborious labor. It was about becoming.
Right.
Become the man that I've called you to be. We don't talk about that now. And it's all about performance, performance. And then the performance is about doing all the good things. That's the reason why nowadays it's like everybody asks the question, well, can I smoke weed? Can I have sex for marriage? Can I do it? Can we drink? Can I get a tattoo?
Yeah.
Can I do it?
Yep.
When God is like, yo, stop performing.
Right.
The question is no longer, can I do it? The question is now, why would I want to?
Right.
Because I'm not a performer.
Right.
I'm not trying to do something to earn God's love and then be like, oh, I just lost it. I got a tattoo. I went out, man. I got 7 tats. I'm trying to get my whole back done here in a few minutes.
Hey.
I'm like, everybody wants to perform.
Uh-huh.
And that's not what God wants. He's like, I just want you to become. Just come to me naked. Come to me bare. Come to me as you are. I'll give you the strength to become who you need to be.
Yeah.
So
that's, man, and if you don't have that revelation, sometimes that's hard to accept. It's hard to accept that God actually loves you. We say it because it's a great message. You're telling me I received this love that I didn't have to earn.
Right.
Jesus died for me, and I don't have to do anything for it. When you think about it, it's a very complicated concept to wrap your mind around.
Very much
because
so.
in our life, we're full of conditions, especially when it comes to love.
Oh, everything. You see it on social media all the time. Red flag. Everybody red flag.
Right.
I'm like, I think you the red flag.
Right.
God, look,
Right.
everybody red flag.
Right.
Everything's a red flag. Who?
Right.
Single folk, I don't know who y'all gonna marry. I don't. I'm like,
Yo,
bro,
it's rough out here for us.
I don't know who y'all gonna marry because everybody's a red flag.
Yeah, it's rough out here for us.
If he ain't got no car, red flag. If he ain't got no house, red flag.
Yep.
If he don't love his mama, red flag. I'm like, God, you don't know his relationship with his mama.
Right.
His mama could have beat him when he was a child.
Right.
Red flag. I'm sorry.
It's tough out here in these streets.
Hey, I've heard.
Yeah, bro, it's tough out here because you have all of these expectations that we create, and then society just drives them. Like, okay, so if she ain't this, she ain't this, she ain't this. If he ain't this, he ain't this, he ain't this. It doesn't really leave you room to grow with somebody.
Right.
You're looking for somebody that maybe you have this list, and I'm not saying even do away with it, but I think we have this list. You said do away.
Throw the thing away.
Okay, because this is a single man.
Throw it away.
Who obviously divorced.
Throw the list away.
Throw the list away.
Throw the list away. And I'm bold in saying throw the list away. And I know people that'll be like, well, no, I won't throw this away because I know what I want. Here's the thing. You don't know what you want. Mm-hmm. You think you know what you want because you think that what you want is what you need.
Ooh, that's good.
My children come to me with cotton candy in the morning for breakfast because that's what they think they know what they want because that's what they think they need because they think that the cotton candy will be nutritious enough for them to eat for breakfast. As a parent, I look at them and say, you're not eating cotton candy. Right. You're going to eat this over here because this is nutritious for you to eat for breakfast. They get upset with me. Well, I don't want that. Well, I'm sorry, but because as your father, as your parent, I'm going to give you what you need.
Right.
We look at God and we say, okay, God, here go everything I want. And then God sends this person in your life who does not meet your list. And you say, obviously that ain't it. Right. And God's like, hold up. That's not who you wanted, but that's who you needed. My wife, and we've talked about this many times, my wife was not on my list. I wasn't on her list. Like when I had a list, mine was like, I wanted some down south country girl who can make me like fried chicken on a Tuesday night with some macaroni and cheese and collard greens and some yams. My wife is like, when I met her, she was giving me cranberries and cashews as a snack. Right. I was like, girl, I ain't no bird. Right. Like, give me some Doritos and some Funyuns. Like, give me some beef jerky or something, you know? But that's just, God sent me somebody in my life who I needed, not who I wanted. And our world today is all about, this is what I want. Then if I don't get what I want, I'll leave what I need in order to go get what I want until we get what we want and we realize that what we want is not what we need.
Man, that's really good.
So that's the list. Everybody's like, well, you need to make your list. You don't know what your list is. You don't have a clue. Yeah. You do not have a clue. I know I don't want them to be this way. I know I had somebody who said, I don't want nobody who's overweight. And I said, okay, what if the man who comes to your life, he got some weight on him? And what if is your encouragement that helps him to shed all that weight off? Because you don't want him when he looks like that. But because you see where he's headed, if he shed all that weight off, now all of a sudden 5 years from now he got a 6-pack abs, he working out in the gym, he getting it going. You're like, oh my God, he's so sexy now. I should.
They ain't trying to hear that.
That's crazy. Where are we living in now? I'm serious. Dog, I couldn't do this. I couldn't do the single thing now. I couldn't do it, bro.
It's rough out here.
I couldn't do it, bro.
Because that was a great example that you used, but I'm thinking to myself, if I had a heavy set woman come to me and was like, no,
no. But here's the thing: it's like the what movie was that with Tyler Perry? Why'd I Get Married to? With Jill Scott, remember? And he was making fun of her weight, and then she met Morris Chestnut, I think is who it was. I forget who it was. Okay. But she met him, and then all of a sudden, they went to the gym together. Yeah. They start working out together. And all of a sudden, she started to look good. Ooh. And then she see her ex-husband in the bathroom, and then he messed around and he left with the mistress. Right. He went for what he wanted or what he thought he needed. Right. When God sent him who he needed, but he didn't want what he needed because he went for what he wanted. And eventually, he lost not only what he needed, but he also lost what he wanted because what he wanted drove him crazy. Right. I'm serious.
Absolutely.
And if he would have been the man to look at her and say, I see the potential in you. Like for my wife and I, when I met my wife wasn't preaching. I met my wife. She had a strong personality. She was really timid. She didn't really want to say anything. It was, no, babe, you talk. No, babe, you do it. No, babe, you do it. And I looked at her and I said, no, you're just as anointed as I am. I was the one who put the mic in her hand and said, you need to go preach. You need to go encourage women. And then now that's what she does.
Wow.
But that's because I saw that in my wife. The same thing, she sees greatness in me and we see it in each other. So now we push each other to go out. People don't have that nowadays. People want these ready-made relationships, these ready-made marriages, and it's bullcrap.
Yeah. That's what I said to myself, because you always have this idea of what life is going to be like for you. And I've always desired to be married. So when I got married, I was like, I'm never getting divorced. No way. It's not going to happen. So then I get divorced. It's kind of like what Mike Tyson say. Everybody got a plan until you get hit in the face. Everybody think they know how to fight till you get in the ring and somebody throwing hooks at you.
Yeah.
And so now I think I'm like, okay, in this place of singleness and how I've grown just in my personal life, like if it's not one thing with this person, it's gonna be something else with somebody else.
Absolutely.
You know, and so it's like, hey, are you willing to endure for a little bit? Because I'll admit, I'm impulsive. You know, I can be impatient. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm not even dragging all the singles because I probably share some of those same outlooks.
Right.
But I think now for me, I'm like, okay, if I go searching, oh, this person doesn't have this, let's go to the next one. Well, this person doesn't have this, well, let's go to the next one. You will be searching for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
You'll be searching for the rest of your life. And so I wanted to ask you something. And it was, you talked about deconstructing. And I wanted to ask you personally, what are some things that had to be deconstructed in you in order to build you back up?
It goes back to the message I did on self-love. I could no longer sit around and believe that God was this taskmaster who was just trying to punish or torture me when I did something bad. I had to believe that he was my loving father who was there for me even when I wasn't there for me. Even when, I couldn't be there for him because the Bible is very clear. He loved me before I ever loved him. That was part of it. The other thing was I'm in this zone now about escaping, and it's really two parts. The first part is, and I'm writing about this in my new book that I'm putting out at the end of the year, but it's escaping. It's like escaping the culture. I spent most of my life trying to achieve, and I look back over my life, and I feel like I didn't waste the years because I achieved, and I'm able. And here's the thing: I'm able to live on my achievements now, so I don't regret it. But I wish I would have had more time to not be so focused on achieving that I really had time to really just enjoy life. Like I self-published 14 books in 6.5 years.
Right.
And that's because every time I put out a new book, I never celebrated it. In fact, I hated the book when I put it out.
Really?
Nowadays people don't even know I write books because I don't even post about them.
Right.
I don't make it known. And that's because I didn't write it for me to make money off of it. I wrote it because this is what I felt in the moment. Boom, I put out a book. Get it if you want it, I don't care.
Right.
But I kind of left it. And so my whole life was just about achieving, where now I'm seeking to escape that culture about the grind and about the hustle and about being a boss and about doing this and doing that, where now I want to live my life. I want to live my life slower. I wake up in the morning. I'm fortunate enough not to have to go to a 9-to-5. So, I wake up in the morning, I go to CrossFit or go work out. I go back home, sit in my sauna, drink my hot tea and sweat, have my time meditation with the Lord, do some work during the middle of the day. And if I want to just walk away and just go, take me a nap, I want to live. I don't want my life to be all about what I do and what I build, because I've done enough in the short 35 years I've been living. I built enough to know that what you build can quickly come against you, or you can quickly lose it. And the Bible even talks about it, that you build all this and then it's turned over to foreigners, turned over to strangers.
Yeah.
So I don't want my life to be about everything that I built, everything I do. I want it to be about who I am, as a person, as a man, and honoring my own truth. Yeah,
that's good. Where's the balance in that though? Because I'm processing what you're saying, because you need to grind, so to say. I feel like you are at a point in your life where you're successful because of your hustle, because of your grind, because of your work, and so some people may feel like, well, you kind of have the opportunity to kind of kick back.
Yeah,
but they'd be
truthful in saying that, and that's very true. And I'm not saying that I don't either. There's always higher you want to go. But one thing I have, looking back over my life and everything I've done, I can either do 10 things good, or I can do 3 things extremely well. When I say the hustle is all about just do 10 things. And then maybe something gonna hit. When I say stepping back, it's like, nope, I'm gonna do these 3. So everybody else is like, I'm hitting the rock, I'm cutting down the tree, and I'm turning on the faucet. You're like, nope, I'm gonna just keep hitting the rock.
Yeah.
Keep hitting the rock. Keep hitting the rock.
Yeah.
That consistency ultimately produces. That's why if a drip of water drips in the same spot on a stone, that if you come back to it over time, that one drip of water, it has driven a hole all the way through the stone. The power of the water never changed. The only thing that changed, the only thing that happened was the consistency of the drip. I'm just going with the consistency of the drip. So it's not to say that I don't work. Because now, I got my insurance license. I sell insurance now, and that was a off the fly thing. I sell insurance annuities, and I don't even sell a lot of. I just do it, on the side for fun if I need to. But I still do things. But it's just the consistency. Okay, God, what you want me to do? Another thing is, I'm not one of those guys. I'm not a big, what's my 10-year plan? My thing is, what you want me to do tomorrow?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, what we doing next week? I don't know. You ain't worried about it? Not at all. I got a flight. I know that. That's about. I know I got to go to Houston. I know I got to go to. Atlanta. I know I got to go to New York. But other than that, I don't know.
That makes me think about having clarity and focus, because that consistency, man, hammering in and just nailing down on what it is on one thing, man, something beautiful can spring out of that if you just stay at it.
Right.
And it seems like you need clarity to even find that thing.
Right.
Like, what's that thing? What are those 3 things that I say I'm going to do extremely well? Have you felt like you've found your thing that you're going to do extremely well? Oh, yeah. Because when you try to juggle 10 things, it's easier for you to be like, okay, what out of this 10 do I need to keep? And that's what I've done. I'm like, out of this 10, I'm going to keep this, this, and this. All the rest of it is gone. Yeah, that's dope. If you don't mind sharing, what are those things? Well, I know that I have the gift of an apostle. So I do well with creating communities and creating really dope cultures. Okay. So in LA, my wife and our goal is to establish a community or a church out in Southern California. That's one thing that we're going to keep. I still travel and preach on the road. I still love writing books. So I'm writing a book right now, and those are the main things that I'm doing right now. Yeah. I'm not trying to start any other big thing. I'm trying to, I don't need to do that anymore. Yeah. I don't need any validation from it. Yeah. I love myself. I love my life. I love my family. I love my kids. I love my wife. I love where I live. They crazy. But I love where I live, Yeah. And I don't feel the need to be validated by anybody. I probably care more about a cat playing with yarn in the middle of Sahara Desert than I do about somebody else's opinions of me. Right. Man, like people, they be mad. Place. Oh man, people, and they get even madder when they know I don't care. They want you to care. They do want you to care. I want you to care. You should care about what I think. Somebody told me, you're a public figure. You should care about what I think. Child, if you left my life today, it's important for you to know that you added nor took away any value. Yeah. I didn't know you before you came into it. And I still won't even think about you after you left it. Yeah. And somebody goes, that's so mean. But it's true. Nah, that's real. And that's a freeing place to be in. I'm so free. Man. And that's why I can't wait to get back into leading a community of people and raising up pastors and stuff like that to take over and do all that kind of stuff, because I'm free. That's healthy, man. That's spiritually healthy, emotionally healthy. And it's such a balance, because I see you just being you. Yeah, it's just me. It's just me. In the past, I would hide me. I lived in a box. Everybody be like, well, my old pastor did this. My pastor did this. Right. You ain't doing my pastor used to do. Right. Now at that point, I'm like, I don't care about your pastor. Go tell your pastor. I don't care. Like I don't need to be a part of a cool club of all this group of pastors hang out together. I don't care. I don't want to be around them anyway. You super unfiltered now. Oh, I'm super unfiltered. Do your wife be like, yo, babe, chill out?
she doesn't do it as much now because she knows just how I am. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and I still want to be tactful. I still want to be respectful, but at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm remaining as true to myself as possible. And if people don't, I've learned that the people in your life who do not accept you for who you are, that those are people who weren't meant to be in your life, because those are people who had expectations for you to be who they wanted you to be.
That's good.
The people in your life who love you for you are the people who came into your life for you.
Yeah.
And so it's easy for me to distinguish between the two. I'm at that point now. If you want to be in my life, if I open the door for you to come in, come on in. If not, I don't care. If you walk out, I just want you to know the door lock on the back. You can't come back in. Now, you know? I forgive you, but you can't come back in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm free, man.
We're gonna end it on that note, because that's a dope place to be.
Amen.
You know, and I'm glad you're there. I'm excited about everything that you're doing. You know, the move, the faith that took you guys to move, and all of that. You know, it's really encouraging stuff to see a young couple too, as well, thriving in their marriage, but being vulnerable and authentic about your struggles and your difficulties. Because I think a lot of times, you know, Christians and marriages, and it's super polished.
Right.
It's very polished. And one of the reasons why I wanted to create a show called like the realest Christian talk show in the world is because I'm like, okay, you guys are about to get a different version of what you think a Christian is.
Right.
Because you think a Christian is the person that you went to church with and that you see, you like, oh, that's them. And then you feel like, I got to be that.
Right.
I got to be them. I should worship like that. I'll never be, I'm a little eccentric, you know, I can't really be me. So then you start forming yourself and changing into what you think people will accept. And that's a dangerous place to be in. It's because you lose yourself, you know. But seeing you guys and listening to your shows and your podcasts and seeing you guys and hearing you guys being just authentically you and talking about your struggles, I'm sure it's an extreme encouragement for everybody who run across you. So thank you guys for that. Thank you for being real.
I appreciate that.
You know what I'm saying? So there's somebody who's listening to the show right now, and they're like, Cornelius, I need something. Like, I got all of that, and all of that was good, but I just want you to look into your camera. You know what I'm saying? Speak directly to the people and just give them a word of encouragement or something like that, whatever it's on your heart.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. Stop performing. God loves you, and he loved you before you loved him. So what gives you the right to hate or to try to self-destruct who he loves? He loves you. Settle in that truth and then become from that foundation. Truly take on the love of God, accept it, and realize that you weren't born to be anybody else but who God made you to be. And who God made you to be will be completely different than who everybody else wants to be. Look at the disciples that Jesus walked with. Although they all loved him, they all had different personalities. You can read their books. You can tell they all had different personalities. So be who God called you to be. Settle in his love. Stop performing. Start becoming. And develop such a strong, deep relationship with God that other people would have to seek him just to understand you. I'm not saying to get into that thing of relationship. No religion, just relationship. I don't necessarily believe in that. I believe that relationship with religion is important, because religion is just customs, just things we do. We go to church, we read our Bible. That's just what it does. The problem is when religion is void of relationship. That's when we have the problem. But develop a relationship with God that's so deep, based on the fact that he loves you, nothing else. Not because you have to, not because he wants you to, but just because he loves you. Just build a relationship with him so deep that other people have to seek him just to understand you. And here's the thing. If nobody's ever told you this in your life, I believe in you, I love you, and you got this because God got you.
Yeah, that's dope. Where can people follow you?
I'm on Instagram. What is my, this is Cornelius. Twitter, this is Cornelius, even though I really don't tweet. I'm on Facebook, Cornelius Lindsay. My website is supposed to be coming out. It's supposed to be coming out earlier this year.
It's like,
still ain't
it's
up.
like what's happening tomorrow? Hey,
I don't
we'll
know.
see.
But my website is CorneliusLindsay.com. Just keep clicking it, and one day I guess it'll be up. I don't know. I'm just not in a big rush. I'm thinking about getting to the beach tomorrow when I go back to California.
Yeah.
So, but you can go to CorneliusLindsay.com. And like I said, I have books. You go to Amazon and you type in Cornelius Lindsay, and I guess they'll pop up there. You can buy them on Amazon. I think they're still up there. So,
Please go purchase the books. Go follow them. Thank you for being here, man.
I really
appreciate it. It was very insightful. Had a great time.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to everything that you got coming.
I appreciate that.
Hey, guys, you have now been tuned into the realest Christian talk show in the world. And you know what we need you to do? Like, comment, subscribe, share this with somebody. If you heard something today, then take that, share it with somebody, share it with a friend, family member, whoever, where you feel like they need to hear it, because they really do. And if you don't, you trash. You're not trash. I'm just saying. It's kind of trash. Okay, anyways. Love y'all. See y'all next time. Peace.
You're now watching the realest Christian talk show in the world, The Joshua Dillard Show.